Chris here with the new Edifier over-ear headphones. They're called the WH950NBs. They've got 40mm dynamic drivers, 3 microphones on each side, so 6 in total, and active noise cancellation. You've got various different levels too for the noise cancellation, a wind mode, standard mode, and an ambient mode too as well that will pick up and amplify background noises so you can hear co-workers, for example, or cyclists if you're out walking. The runtime of this model here is 34 hours with the ANC on or 55 with it off. And if you charge them for just 10 minutes, you get up to 7 hours of runtime with ANC off, of course. But the best part, at least for me, is LDAC codec support. Now this is a high quality codec with a bit rate that's almost 3 times more than your standard lower end codecs, and it does make a big difference. It almost, to my ears at least, sounds like a wired connection even though it's wireless. And yes, speaking of wired, well, these do support a wired connection because they do include a 3.5mm to 3.5mm cable. The WH950NBs come in this very nice carry case. You see we've got a little handhold right there. It's all zipped around too, and the build quality of the case is nice. The stitching looks really good. I like it. And then they are well packaged away. So you can see, of course, they do turn to the side, these headphones. Like other brands, they have the same kind of setup to reduce the size of them. But other brands don't do this. They don't normally include a little bit of fabric. So this is a divider to make sure they're not going to be rubbing up against each other, getting scratched, which of course you don't want that at all. And then in this little pouch on the side, you will find everything else that's included with them. So we've got our 3.5mm to 3.5mm. So yes, you can use these as wired headphones. So we've just got here some important safety information, after sales card, and this is the manual. So that's our paperwork side of things. Then we get the airplane adapter. Very good to see that they have included this. So you can use the WH950NBs instead of their terrible normally included headphones. And our Type-C to Type-A USB cable. Now the charge time is around about an hour. It's got fast charging. Now the build quality of these is excellent. The materials used, the finish, there's no sharp edges, nothing looks cheap. So matte on the back here. Each side has 3 microphones. So we've got a microphone here. This is for the active noise cancellation. There is another mic here. This is 3.5mm. You can see the other little hole for a microphone right here. A status LED, Type-C for charging, so 1.5 hours to fully charge them. And as mentioned, with 10 minutes, you get 7 hours of runtime with just 10-minute charge. That's pretty good. That's with the noise cancelling off. Our mode button right here, then volume up and down, and the previous and next track, whatnot. So quite good. Now the ear cups, what are they like? They are reasonably comfortable, very good seal. The noise cancellation is fantastic, so much better than in-ears as you'd expect with this design. Now I did notice that after about the 2-hour mark, I'm feeling a bit of pressure from these, which is normal because there is that pressure that's constantly being applied to your head, to your ears. So they A, stay on your head, B, give a good seal to give you the best noise cancellation. Now the part here where it twists in and out, that all feels good. It's great and clearly labeled left and right, as you can see. Is the 40mm dynamic drivers either side that are wireless certified here. So they are hi-fi certified for both wired and wireless, and the LDAC codec, of course, with this. So excellent build quality. You can see a few smudges here with the metal top band, but overall good. Now the padding here, wanted to talk a little bit about that. Again, pretty good, nice and soft, but yes, after a few hours, you notice a little bit of fatigue with it, and I get this with all brands too, that when you wear them for long periods, but it's not too bad, a good decent amount of padding. What I really want to find out is, will this end up flaking off this material and having those little black bits coming apart, disintegrating? I hope not, but normally that takes about a year before that happens with these headphones, and even my premium ones have done it too in the past, some Sonys I've got. I hope it won't be the case here with Edifier's headphones. So pairing up to the WH950NBs was very easy. In fact, I got that pretty standard pop-up that you get now with a lot of modern phones, and it just said connect to it, and that was it, done. Now I went into the settings straight away as I normally do, and I want to select here LDAC, but it's missing. So in order to get it, you need to use the application, which I'm now of course running. So once you install this, it's called Edifier Connect. You get then all of the options. You can see right now that high-res audio wireless is not enabled. That's because you need to go into the settings to do so, which I'll show you now. So just tap here, go over to LDAC. And why do you want to use this? Well, the quality of LDAC, it's an amazing codec. It's over or close to around 3 times higher the bitrate compared to, say, SBC. It's far superior to AAC codec. It is really, to my ears, using these wired and then wireless, even though, okay, the sound signature is a little different between wired and wireless. It's very hard to distinguish that because you just remove all of that terrible compression you get, especially with highs, when you use LDAC. So the sampling rate can be set, this is really good to see this, at 96 kilohertz, 48 or 44.1. Now normally we don't even get this option, so great to see they've included that in there. So just get out of there. There are firmware updates apparently that they do push through if needed. You can change here the modes of it. So you can either tap the button and cycle through at the M button there, or you've got the low noise cancellation, wind noise reduction, ambient sound too as well, and then the noise cancellation, which is currently off. And you do hear the difference of it. It's really noticeable. You get the passive noise isolation, but once you use that, wow, it makes a real big difference to those ambient sounds like trains, transport, things like that. The noise of engines, humming, all that, it really cuts back on it. So very good in that department there. So the app does have a couple of sections here. There is a equalizer section too, so you can go along and customize that yourself if you want to. So if you needed to change that, you just jump into there and tweak that to your heart's desire. So if you like to pump up the lows or reduce the lows, tweak up the highs, the mids, it's all in there, which is very good. And one more time here, we just got some modes. So I've got it in music mode, but if I was to watch Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, streaming video, or any video, I would use the gaming mode because that's going to reduce the latency there, of course. Theater mode is another option, and you can see what I'm currently playing there. So that is great. Good application. Now, I've used them wired, tested them out with an older phone of mine, which is a K30 Pro. There is a difference in the sound signature to when you're using them wireless versus wired, of course. Having them wired, the latency is perfect. There's no issues with that. When you're using them wireless, there is a little bit. Now, the battery runtime, just to talk a bit about this too. So with ANC off, using not the LDAC codec, you're looking at 55 hours. And with ANC on, 34 hours. However, if you turn ANC on, LDAC codec, it really brings that battery life right down, and you're looking then at about 16, 17 hours, which is still fantastic. That's going to last a very long flight indeed. Dubai down to Auckland direct, 17 hours. These will be able to do it the whole exact time. Whether you want to be wearing them for that long, I don't know, probably not. So the bass is very good out of the 40mm dynamic driver. We have an impedance of 32 ohms, and the frequency response is 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. Now for me, the bass is good, not overdone, nice deep rich bass, but not a super crazy pumped up those lows. No, the mids are good, okay, and vocals sound reasonably good. My area of criticism would be the highs don't sound quite as detailed and as crisp as they do with some other brands out there, and probably because they're just using that single 40mm dynamic driver. However, once you swap over to LDAC codec from SBC, especially when you're using them wirelessly, wow, do you notice the difference in the highs. There's none of that terrible Bluetooth compression, none of that distortion. That all clears up when you use that LDAC codec, which of course is transmitting at a much higher bit rate. But the trade-off is, yes, it really kind of kills the battery life using LDAC. But still, you get about 16, 17 hours on a single charge, depending on your volume. Not bad at all. How about the latency then? Well, I have selected the gaming mode. Even though, yes, I'm just streaming an episode here of Vikings with Netflix, it does mean that it's in sync with their mouths. Using the gaming mode, I've noticed it seems to be pretty much perfect. It does not annoy me at all. I can happily watch any streaming videos or any video content, and it will be perfectly in sync. The only time I've noticed that it might be a little bit out of sync with this is if you end up gaming, and I don't do a lot of gaming myself, but you may notice that there's a tiny fraction of a delay. Mic sample now. I have this connected directly to my desktop PC, and I'm recording straight into the timeline of my video editor with these WH950NBs. I think the microphone quality is above average. I think it's good. We have, as I've mentioned, seen a big improvement in the last couple of years in mic quality. So modern Bluetooth tech, this is running off a Bluetooth version 5.3, by the way. It connects up super quick, all right? There's no delay, no wait at all. And what do they like to wear? Now, I have worn these for extended periods to test them out, of course, to let you know what they're like. Now, very comfortable initially, like most over-ear style, right? But after wearing these for about 2 hours, I get a bit of humidity, heat buildup, and they become a tiny bit uncomfortable for me. Now, I've noticed that the pressure that's applied to my ears is good. It's not over the top. It's not too much pressure squeezing onto my head and my ears there. And at the top padding, after the 2 hour or so mark, I did notice a bit of a sore patch, which is normal for that kind of extended wearing period. So what I would do then is just simply move them forward a little bit, and then I was fine. So it depends on, everyone's different of course, and then the temperature. If it's really hot outside, you're wearing these, then that's the downside of the over-ear style. But the positive is the passive noise cancellation. So of course, due to the cup style, the very nice soft padding and the seal it gives, and then covering your whole ear like that, it's very good. So without even turning on the active noise cancellation, you've got a huge reduction in ambient noise. But when you turn it on, for example, like now, I cannot hear my desktop PC fans, and I played a lot of ambient tracks as well. So a noisy train station, inside an aircraft cabin, all of those kind of noises, trains was brought right down. So the ANC on these, fantastic, better than any in-ear style, because in-ear style is good now. They've really improved that ANC, but you still cannot beat the over-ear style ANC. This is the absolute top when it comes to the active noise cancellation. Very good with this particular model. Now, as I mentioned with the sound quality, the 40mm driver produces some very powerful, deep, great bass. The gaming mode does reduce the latency, and I find that when I'm watching like Netflix or any streaming video, it's in time with people's mouths, and I'm not going to get frustrated with that going, it's out of sync, which is highly annoying. I cannot watch a movie or a TV series like that. I'm pretty sure most people would agree with me on that. And then the vocals and the mids, good as well. Now, you've got the equalizer on board, the default tune. When you get these and take them straight out of the little pouch here, is very good. They haven't gone overboard with the bass. The top volume is at safe kind of level, so they have restricted it to stop you from damaging your hearing, of course, and I guess to stop any problems as well for them in case someone says, hey, I damaged my hearing using your over-ear headphones. That's probably why they've done that limitation. So if you really love to blast them out real loud, then it is a little bit limited. My area of criticism is a bit of a nitpick here, and that is I do find the highs could be a bit more detailed, could be a little bit crisper. So if you listen to like a lot of rock music and that, I just feel that something could be just a bit better there with the highs. And I feel that if they'd given these a balanced armature, imagine that, combined with that 40mm driver, then wow, they would have been so balanced. So I do hope that they release a revision of these with it. But we'll get on to the best thing about them, I think, is the battery life. It's extremely good, of course, the style. So you get about 34 hours with the ANC on, but in reality, it's about 30. But when you turn on the LDAC codec, of course, the sound quality is fantastic. It really gets rid of that compression with Bluetooth and improves the highs. You just don't get that distortion that you can sometimes hear with Bluetooth. And I've been listening to some very high, really high bitrate, good quality FLAC music files, and yeah, you do notice it. And I think it's very close to wired, if not indistinguishable. It's very hard to tell the difference. Now, when you plug them in wired, there is a bit of a difference with the sound signature. It's not super noticeable, but it's there. There is a difference. And the battery life, when you use LDAC, is the trade-off for that codec, because it's a super high streaming transmission rate that it uses. It's like something over 900 kilobits per second. It takes a big toll on that battery. So you won't get the 30 hours, 34 hours claimed with the ANC on. It's more likely going to be around about 16 or so hours, because it really does hit it hard. But that's about it. They are a fantastic set of over-ears. I love the fact they've got that LDAC codec, the ANC, the microphone sample I gave you. I thought it was a decent kind of quality. You can handle calls on it, which I've done. It hasn't been too much of a problem. The other side did understand me. That's the main thing, of course. So thank you so much for watching my review here of the WH950NBs from Edifier.